Welcome to lesson 7.5, rotations continued. So our objective for today is I can draw the image of a figure under rotation of 90 degrees and 180 degrees. All right, so this is very similar to our previous lesson, but this time I want you to challenge yourself not to use the transparency. Okay, so before we do that, let's think about the rules and what we need to do when we're doing rotation. So on the bottom of your page here, I want you to break it off, and we're going to write the rules that we learned yesterday. So if we're rotating 90 degrees clockwise, right, that's the first rule that we have. Next, we have 90 degrees counterclockwise, right? And then the last one is 180 degrees. And remember, 180 doesn't matter if you're clockwise or counterclockwise because you're still going to turn it twice, which means it's going to end up in the same spot. So remember, clockwise is to the right, counterclockwise is to the left, right? So let's take a look here. So remember, clockwise, when we rotate, we take our coordinate x, y, and it becomes, we're flipping the y and the x, and we're changing the sign of the x. Okay, 90 degrees counterclockwise, we're taking our x and our y, and we're flipping them again, only this time the y is the one that's changing its sign. And last but not least, 180, we have our x and our y, and that goes to, we keep the order the same, only this time we change the sign in front of both of them. Okay, so you're going to use these rules a lot today. Sound good? So I'm just going to do a little recap of the first one to make sure that we are feeling comfortable about rotations. Okay, so let's do this first one together. We're going to plot these points. So A is 5, 4. That's A. B is 2, 4. And we have C is 2, 1. And D is 5, 1. So we're going to plot those points here. Now, you can imagine what would happen when we take this and we rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, right? We know it's going to go over here. So we know that somewhere over here, right, C is going to be here, B is going to be here, and so on. But let's use our rule to help us, right? So we took A and we decided to change it to A prime, right? So A became A prime, and that point looks like 90 degrees clockwise. I have to switch my x and y, right? So this is going to mean it's going to be a 4, 5, but I have to change my x value. So it's going to be -5 for my x value. All right, B prime, let's check it out. We have to switch our x and our y, right? So we have 4, 2 now, but we have to change the sign of our x. So it's going to be a -2 now instead of a +2. C prime, we're taking our 1 and 2, flipping them, but again, x has to become negative. And D prime, flip them once more, but our x has to become negative, right? So those should be our points after a 90 degrees clockwise rotation. Let's try it. So here we start off, we have 4, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our new A prime. B prime looks like it's 4, -2. Right? C prime is 1, -2. And D prime is 1, -5. Right? So remember, when we're rotating, shape and size are preserved. So between A and D, it should be 1, 2, 3 spaces. Between A prime and D prime, I have 3 spaces. Right? Between B and A, I should have 3. And between B prime, A prime, I have 3 as well. Okay, so if you wanted to, you could use your transparency now to mark your center and your first shape, rotate it, and make sure that it matches up with what we started with. But I really want us to get used to using these rules. It also helps to think about, okay, if I'm rotating it to the right, right, that means it's going to end up in this quadrant over here. What do I know about this quadrant over here? Well, I know that the x values are positive, and I know that the y values are negative, right? So that's super helpful because if you forget this rule, you can say, hey, I know that we have to switch them because it's only 90 degrees. But I know all of my y values have to be negative after the flip because it ends up over here. Mind blown, right? So even if you don't remember that you have to change the x every time, you can think to yourself, whoa, after I do the flip, my new y value has to be negative because it's in this quadrant. Okay, so now if you take a look at the next example, I want you to rotate this one 90 degrees counterclockwise. All right, so it looks like our image is going to be here in this first quadrant. So when you rotate it counterclockwise, think to yourself, your new points are going to have an x value that seems to be negative because it's going to be somewhere over here, right? And it's going to have a y value that's going to be positive because it's also somewhere over here. Right, so keep that in mind when you're using your rule and rotating this one. I want you to do the same thing for 3. I want you to think about what's going to happen to it and work on that. You need to get both 2 and 3 checked for me, please. And then if we flip over to the back, I also want you to do these, but make sure you're paying attention right now because I'll know if you didn't listen to me. Because this does not say where to rotate the triangle. It just says to rotate it counterclockwise. So we're going to assume that it's 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay? 90 degrees counterclockwise only. All right, so make sure that you rotate those for me. What I would do is mark your points first here. So what is A? Right? A is 4, -3. What is B? What is C? And then take those and figure out what they map to, knowing that counterclockwise, it's going to end up somewhere over here, right? And then the last one, I want you to draw them both 90 degrees and 180 degrees clockwise, okay? Remember to label your first one as A prime, B prime, C prime, and the second one is A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So make sure you have those listed out for you. Make sure to use your rules. Don't cheat and use transparency. You've got this. All right, have fun. Bye.